Welcome to the Nest Show, the podcast that brings you insights into the crypto market, trading and investment experiences, and what we're looking forward to as we navigate the space together. Before we get started with the show, I want to thank our friends and sponsors over at Prime XBT, where many of our listeners have already signed up to trade by visiting the birbnest.com/PrimeXBT. Prime XBT is the most powerful trading platform offering immediate access to over 30 assets. Users may trade cryptocurrencies, Forex, commodities, stock indices, and much more, all from a single Bitcoin settled account. And now for the show. What the Nest Show is. This is a podcast brought to you by the Birb Nest community, an independent crypto and Forex-centered trading community built to sharpen each other in capturing opportunities in the markets while protecting capital along the way. What this is not. Trading advice. We are not financial advisors, and you should not regard any information here or in the Nest Club as financial advice. You should always consult a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.
Hey everybody, it's Adrian, Crypto Birb here, and welcome to today's very special episode of the Nest Show podcast. It's been quite a while since we actually just had the podcast, on a very regular basis. Because there was the Christmas time before. We had pretty much like a strong pressure on our shoulders for the development within the Nest. But I'm very happy that we are actually just back on the track with regards to our podcast sessions, podcast episodes. And today I'm having a very, very special guest for a couple of reasons. He's also this guest, this very special person, is also having Polish roots, which makes it even more intriguing for me actually to interview him further on. But just to give you a very good start, welcome to today's very special episode, Simon Bogdanowicz of YFDAI, who is the head of growth. Welcome, Simon. How's it going?
Good, going well. Thank you so much for having me. Dziękuję bardzo for being here. And wow, it's I was actually born in Europe, born in Poland, and grew up there till I was about 6 years old before moving to America. But family living in Europe, so real pleasure.
Yeah, very good to hear that. And I've always been inspired by very strong Polish people. And I was also very kind of like sad about how few of them we see in the world, in the global sort of like positions. So I'm even happier and more impressed to see you, just leading the growth for such an amazing project and company like YFDI, because we both probably agree that the DeFi scene within the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry, this is something that is actually getting like a very strong push right now. And I'm actually having like a very good portion of very intriguing questions that I actually personally want to ask. And how about we start off and kick it off from the first one, which goes after what's led you into the YFDI to commit to the growth department?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I was actually initially introduced to YFDI around October timeframe, so about a month after the initial launch, and started speaking with Phil, or YFDI, in early November, looking at different ways to get more involved. So I think that I have been quite involved in DeFi since last spring, and I've been in greater blockchain and in cryptocurrency in general. Heavy as in since mid 2017. Prior to that, had my foray into Bitcoin through through other means and friends and just understandings of it. I think DeFi in particular really plays on what I believe is really one of the big catalysts for adoption and democratizing finance. I wanted to really get involved in a particular project that I believe in. And that's what really led me into my position as head of growth at YFDI. So why head of growth really all interplays with my unique background. So I started off working on Wall Street at the Royal Bank of Canada in mergers and acquisitions, very hard skills, traditional finance, working across a number of different industries, and health services, including consumer technology. And then after that, I forayed my career into big enterprise. And then beyond that, working in New York City and California, worked for a couple of Silicon Valley outfits, and was actually purchased by a Belgian company. I was working for a company called Strongview at the time, was purchased by a company called Celigent. They were looking to kind of refresh their team and their operations and go a bit more mid-tier from an enterprise perspective, clientele perspective. And my whole career was really focusing on the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 for enterprise technology solutions across a number of different solution sets: finance, accounting, marketing, omnichannel marketing solutions, things like that. How to analyze where customers are coming in and out of, how to engage them, how to keep them as a client, how to increase lifetime value, everything else. And so I developed a great skill set and understanding of all these different industries and really what the head of growth really means, right? Around, being able to work with a company and grow them across all different operations, from marketing and partnerships to business development, growing the team around you of third-party vendors, as well as the actual team members that you're looking to hire, things like that. And so my agency that I founded in 2017, along with a co-founder, Block Team, was all about helping early stage startups that were blockchain projects and helping them grow across really three main fields of growth that we called it: marketing, operations, and basically investor readiness. So helping them with all of their marketing materials for investment in the road shows, but also helping them with client acquisition, with the website, community building. So you kind of name it, like a hands-on accelerator, if you will. Past companies I've worked with in that capacity are some recognizable names: Open Platform, GameFlip, Unibright, Tradove, Patron, Akudo, a blockchain privacy app, blockchain privacy out of Japan called Chorus, and even Web 3.0 infrastructure with a company called Versus that's still doing very well. And so combining on my talents and knowing that I really want to focus in on DeFi as what I feel is really one of the big catalysts to really grow mainstream adoption, but yet it is still very nascent. It is still very young and is quite confused. It's quite confusing, especially for people that are not in crypto. And even those that are, wrapping your head around Bitcoin, Ethereum is one thing, but then getting into understanding the whole ecosystem of DeFi and what opportunities unlocks is a completely another realm. And so I feel like very well positioned to be where I am now today.
Yeah, come on, Simon. I mean, I didn't want to interrupt because there was like a series, like a couple of shots, stream of shots of amazing achievements and amazing successes and milestones actually within your career. So like being here for the growth, leading the growth in the YFDAI just seems like a natural continuation of what you've been doing for years. So I just want to congratulate you on that, because I think this is a huge achievement to actually participate in on the organic, just development, creating the future of finance. However we look at it, let's be real. And I'm actually, while being very impressed, I'm even more impressed and pretty much like intrigued by what YFDAI offers per the mission and the actual sort of like a vision part, right? We've been, like, per YFDAI and myself as Crypto Birb, we've been in a very good relationship. We've been in a very good partnership, sort of like relationship, as I said. And I can see the work that is being put behind all the releases, that is being put behind all of the projects that are coming out, all of the DeFi, pretty much like just services and offers. I mean, this is definitely this is definitely one of the most legit projects I've seen in years in the space. And I just wanted to be very clear for all of the listeners and viewers. And if we take a moment, if that's okay, Simon, if we take a very short moment to focus on the mission and vision for YFDAI, like, why would you say YFDAI is different than the competitors? Like, what's unique in the mission and vision?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's really the mission and vision of the team and of the project that really drew me to be able to accept a position and work with the team, with the YFDAI as a project here. So I think I think the mission and vision is, or at least a mission, and how we're going about architecting our own DeFi ecosystem is quite synonymous with how we differentiate ourselves from others. So with that being said, really our mission and our vision is to really bridge the chasm between blockchain and legacy financial systems by offering a really safe and secure environment for veterans and crypto newcomers alike, but doing it in a way that is very transparent, is very secure, with an understanding that we are building an entire ecosystem of solutions. We're not just looking at putting out services around staking and farming, just staking, farming, and a few others that kind of everyone in DeFi knows. So that being said, we do have products obviously for staking and farming. We also have our own DEX in SafeSwap. We have actually Safe Trade, which is an automated trading bot that folks can download as well, and you can look back at historicals and see how well the averages are there. We're also launching soon, very soon this month, Safe Predict as well. You can look at predicting the prices of a couple of the major cryptocurrencies, and eventually including our own. And we're also launching our own Launchpad incubator as well, which is quite imminent, that we've haven't had in the works for quite a few months. In addition to all that, rounding out the DeFi ecosystem, the other elements that you really need is really around borrowing, lending, insurance, and then eventually fiat crypto on and off ramps, and even credit cards and debit cards for people to utilize as well. So those are all some of our innovations to come. Some are in the near term, some are in our longer roadmap. But I think we are very well positioned from a team. We have 14 developers alone that are just working on development of the product. And then from a business sense, or wider team, including everyone else that's non-technical, we have now I believe between 30 to 35 full-time folks. So so it all plays into Rome wasn't built in a day. The DeFi space is going to be built or really led by the leaders that have transparency and safeguards in it. And the original mission, as you know, of YFDAI is always around preventing rug pulls. And for newcomers that don't understand what rug pulls are, setting up a system that prevents fraudulent projects or any kind of fraudulent activity from ever happening. And because of our time sensitive smart contracts and our really transparency around audit of smart contracts, and our own audit that was conducted by Blockchain Consilium, and our transparency reports that we produce every month of where tokens are going and why, things like that. That's very attractive, because that's going to help with regulation of the space on a global scale, but obviously that's going to be localized to various nation states. So doing things right, doing things by the book, but also at the same time leading in a way that sets the example for regulation is very important, and that's what we're doing with YFDAI.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds very much security oriented, right? And just like you said, YFDAI, which is I think very needed in the space, is supposed to provide the actual sort of just insurance, so that whatever the DeFi project actually comes along, this is not pretty much let through, as the if it raises some questions on the potential rug pull side, right? We don't really, speaking from my perspective of as an investor, as a trader, of course have been a victim to many rug pulls, right? Be it in the early days, especially when I didn't really have more of the much of the analytical skills, be it in the fundamental analysis or technical analysis. But long story short, those projects would probably always appear, but the only way for the entire crypto industry, and especially DeFi, being sort of self-controlled or organically managed by the decentralized units, I think we need to keep doing, as the whole industry, copy what actually YFDAI is doing, right? And the security orientation, which is which should be far more important than the actual profit itself, which many projects get it wrong. this is the only way to develop this in the long term. This is the only way to attract institutional investors, because institutional investors are looking for the infrastructure for the security, right? To allocate the bigger money in that. So with so many rug pulls, that's definitely sort of like pushing away the bigger money, from staying within the DeFi scene. And I'm very happy that that I see how successfully and how well YFDAI is actually managing that. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to touch upon a couple of more points, Simon, and there is this sort of like I call that under the investors' corner right now. But before I personally hop into the chart and see what's cooking in the chart for YFDI, I'd love to hear about some beans being spilled over the short-term and long-term plans for YFDI for 2021, if you can reveal any.
That's what everyone always asks, right? and that's important, right? Because it's just like in anything, it's about the growth, it's about the development, it's about where we're going more so than where we are today or where we've been, right? That's the point of life. So that being said, let me tell you a little bit of the exciting announcement that we just have had, and then we can get into like some of the more long-term some of the long-term developments and things, but and short-term. But just this past week or week and a half, we listed on 2 new exchanges, Gate.io and BBox. So we're very excited about that. Obviously, it presents more liquidity options for current users and holders of YFDI, and obviously, working with those exchanges, we're looking to bring on their communities and to participate and learn about YFDI and beyond just holding the token, really participate in all of our suite of solutions and understand that as a community-centric DeFi ecosystem, there is value in getting in early, and it's still early, getting in early and holding your token, and you'll be rewarded and compensated accordingly with in staking and farming and so on and so forth. The longer you hold your YFDI token, and so we have to always make sure you bring that up, because I think it's going to be quite different than just doing an airdrop here and there, just to get people involved. So that being said, some of the near term kind of developments that I can speak to is like one is a really refresh to our website. I would say it's our next iteration of the website's coming out to be. It's going to be launching this month. It's going to be multilingual. The style of it is really going to be bridging the gap, much to our mission, bridging the gap between kind of crypto veterans and newcomers. We're looking to make it so it's very sound from a UI UX perspective, user interface, user experience, making sure people understand, okay, what is YFDI? Why should I, be, involved in the ecosystem? A big education portal as well, educating everyone about how DeFi works. Here's the onboarding to get to know all the different solutions. Driving people also through our website into our different communication channels, where we have like myself or others on the team and moderators that are full time to be able to answer any questions and raise your hand for any support that anyone needs. Developing that out. We're also launching this month and have completed Safe Predict. I think I mentioned that earlier. It's our own DApp. Your ability to predict the price of BTC and ETH and other cryptos eventually as well coming up. And there's a surprise partnership that'll be coming around that as well. So I can't speak to that too much, but that's going to be announced this month. We also had our first governance vote. Not sure if you saw, we actually are tabulating the vote right now. I feel like it's going to be a yes, but we'll see this vote. It's going to introduce the Safe Swap token. Safe Swap again is our DEX. It'll have the liquidity. It's a really liquidity provision token that also crowns access to governance. I think is really important to bring up from a governance perspective, because it's there's going to be NFTs involved as well. So when thinking about how to take a snapshot of like everyone that's holding your token, and let me take a step back, to participate in the vote, you needed to hold at least 2 YFDAI tokens in your wallet or multiple wallets, or you have to be staking them or farming them. So in order to have that happen, we had to utilize NFTs to not require anyone from drawing, from pulling out and drawing out, withdrawing from staking or farming to be able to actually vote. But with SafeSwap, just like with any DEX, liquidity is key, right? So there's income is provided and rewarded to YFDAI holders, stakers, and farmers, which are responsible for a large portion of the YFDAI token burn mechanism. So obviously, we have a decreasing token mechanism, decreasing supply, and obviously increasing the value of the token with price appreciation. So it's a big win-win-win for everybody involved, including liquidity providers. The SST token will also be utilized in different ways, and will allow folks to receive airdrops as well. So kind of further rewarding those that are part of our ecosystem. So I think that's very important. And we had a pretty good turnout. We have over 700 folks, like at least at the beginning of the voting, that held 2 or more YFDAI. About 50% of them were actually voting. And I believe that at that time, now it's probably over 50% that actually voted. Like I said, we just closed the voting, but we're very excited about that. Some other things that are coming out beyond that is, we're going to be launching our lending and borrowing as well soon. So I can say that. Our insurance product, being full disclosure, is delayed a little bit because we are trying to figure out which partners that we want to work with to exactly launch an insurance product from. If people say, DeFi is really a nascent young place, then you can imagine, insurance in decentralized finance is even younger, right? So you have to be very careful on how you roll out those kind of products. And then I think the other big pieces is Launchpad, right? And our incubator. So we've signed on our first 2 clients. We had to actually turn down a vast majority of them because they didn't meet our strict criteria that we have for working with us from an incubator and launch perspective. Obviously, everyone knows the success that token pre-sales have had. So this is anyone that's listening, your chance to get involved in pre-sales by being a part of the YFDI community and participating in Launchpad. So that's very important. Our first Launchpad project is going to launch in the next 2 weeks. So I think that's very important. The keys to remember really with our Launchpad is that all projects are fully audited. Tokens are locked in time release smart contracts. This really minimizes the chance of projects to fail under our watch. But of course, projects, just like any company, can always fail. But at least now that they're rug proof. There can't be a project that's going to take your money and then disappear, like we've seen a lot, especially last year, and of course, it's going to keep happening on some of these platforms that don't have the same protections like we do. So I think the returns are going to be very rewarding. Anyone staking or farming YFDAI will receive an allocation for the Launchpad projects that are listing. And that's going to breed success in with the incubator, and success with their market cap and our market cap as well. So I think it's all very important. And then some of the things I'm working on personally is really around the marketing. Is really around getting both crypto community and traditional community, really non-crypto adoption to take place. That starts with more interviews, like this, AMAs. We have to get into more mainstream media publications, the Forbes Inc. Entrepreneur of the world, to be able to, kind of sound our voice. Here we are. Given my background in Wall Street and in big enterprise technology, I also have a lot of ties into, the institutional world, right? And the centralized finance, players that we have too. So being able to, where appropriate, institutionalize a few things, but with always having that community-centric mindset, and always thinking that, saying that, hey, we were created really to democratize finance, right? And so we are never going to look to do something to sacrifice that. So those are some of the things. Obviously, there's a lot more than that. And then you can obviously always look at our marketing materials to see what's down in the roadmap further on. But those are some of the things I can share right now.
I mean, thank God I've been staking, YFDAI since the very actually launched. So that's all that you just shared is like, convincing me more and more that I should just stake it more and more because, all of the developments and actually what you've just brought, I was only partially kind of like aware of that, of course, because I'm very happy to be collaborating with YFDAI on the official sort of like basis. But of course, whatever is sort of like just comes from the original like idea creators like yourself, right, for the growth or what's going and then happening within the team. I mean, that's very confidential, of course. So I'm still very very impressed with what you just shared, and this just tells me that to what extent YFDAI is serious about the actual mission and vision, because we are talking about not only listening, to the people. We are not talking about improving the website, about just going and providing this amazing opportunity for the incubator itself, right? For the launchpad. I mean, the entire DeFi scene, just watched through the perspective of YFDAI. This is just actually getting started, and we are talking about a huge acceleration. So again, big congratulations and kudos for that.
Thank you. I wanted to mention one more thing. I think because I think Launchpad is going to be super critical and something that I think everyone should keep in mind. Really, is around our partners around Launchpad. So, I want to tell you that real quick. So, you may already know this. I'm not sure if your audience does. Is that we partner with DuckDAO on funding for Launchpad. DuckDAO is maybe if not the top or one of the very top kind of funding incubators in the DeFi space, and have had major successes with Linear, with Bondly, with GQ, Pools, and so on and so forth. So they're fantastic. We also work with Fear Network and the Foundry, so that makes our Launchpad very strong. Obviously, very recognizable names for those that know, and kind of have been following the space around, just launching new projects in DeFi. And also SafeSwap is a member of SEPA, so we bring transparency and safety to the place as well. So we're always looking to partner and anchor ourselves with those that will continue to further and strengthen our mission and vision. And we're always very open on what's happening in that regard, as much as we can be without kind of leaking details that might, drive up the price too much.
I wish so that there was more, but that definitely sounds good. I'm also very good friends with Ian, with Ian of Birb Network, so I perfectly know that we're talking about very, very strong connections, very strong backup. So this just gives a very, very strong conviction, regarding the future of YFDAI. And actually, while speaking of future of YFDAI, let me actually just jump and share a couple of thoughts regarding the more technical aspects. For myself, being the certified technical analyst, I've been watching YFDAI for a long time already. And as I said, I've been staking that perfectly well since the very, very launch. So, I'm not only happy because of the massive, pretty much like returns, of course, because we are talking about the returns, that actually came and started regarding, just those periods. But more importantly, just watching YFDAI from the strict perspective of technical analysis, we are looking at a very strong and major uptrend, right? This is unquestionable. We are looking at the uptrend that is actually accelerating. The trend lines, if you just the trend lines themselves, if you actually look at that, right? If we connect all the sort of like swing lows, the bounce points, they literally and apparently seem to accelerate, right? You would see acceleration with the trends getting steeper, right? With every single bounce that actually proceeds. And what does it tell me? It does tell me that YFDAI is accelerating, right? The price development is accelerating. In whenever the trend line is getting steeper, it just tells that we are pretty much like following the more and more vertical sort of like a progression. So that is, well, speaking from the technical point of view itself, from the momentum perspective, this is very bullish, right? For those who actually may have been watching some of my pretty much like, just podcast featurings, or, I was invited to a couple of interviews, I was talking about YFDAI and about this sort of like a big reaccumulation or consolidation range that was happening, right? And I was talking about the opportunities, when we were actually just pumping through through 2,500 as far as I can recall. I was talking about reaccumulating and re-getting the base around $2,000, and how undervalued, in my opinion, still $2,000 levels between 2,400 and 2,800, it was. And apparently, well, I was right, but I'm even happier, not because I was right, but because I'm actually well invested in YFDAI. So this just adds another confluence. We have seen this perfect retest of the resistance, then and local throwback to retest the sort of like local resistances that turned out to be to play the role after breaking, to play the role of the supports. In here, we're looking at a very similar sort of like setup. We're looking at the actual breakout retest situation. We have seen the breakout already, right? This is a breakout above the major consolidation zone. And the consolidation zone, just so that everybody can follow, again, we're talking about $2,000 range, right? $2,000 trading range, trading bound. This technically sets us for the potential breakout for the target being equal to the range, to the size of the range, to the base size, right? So based on the technical analysis itself, we could anticipate the levels around $6,000 for YFDI, which Phil also perfectly knows about it, because I spoke to Phil many times about it, and I'm quite convinced we see $6,000, for YFDI within the next couple of weeks, perhaps months. But with the bullish catalyst, from the fundamental point of view, which you just shared, Simon, I think this is actually going to go there sooner than later. And from the, again, technical point of view, we're seeing perfect breakout retest, right? This is a consolidation. This is the consolidation after an actual breakout. The breakout direction tells us about the anticipation of further trend continuation, right? So the breakout to the upside suggests that we are continuing the trend. And it just looks to me, that whatever sort of like price action we occur to see within those bands between 4,000 and 4,900, I think this is literally going to perfectly take us towards 6,000 whenever we see it claimed on a daily level. Whenever a daily session closes through the resistance of all-time highs, I think the $6,000 is sort of like potentially available. And this is just speaking of the pure technical analysis, within the sort of like a short term to medium term. But if we look at that from the higher time frame perspective, let's actually wind up the Fibonacci extensions. Where do we have them? There we go. Right. We just want to see an actual trend that is starting in here, anchored in here, and the actual extensions, that are providing us targets, potential targets around, well, the next Fibonacci sort of like levels, Fibonacci-based levels that are placed and located within, as you can perfectly see, 1.618 Fibonacci extension with the golden ratio added on top of that, which places us around 6,500. Then another one, 2.618. Which is pretty much around 9,600. So those are the levels that I want to see definitely in the longer future, right? 6,000 is definitely, as we know, achievable within the next weeks, next months. But as we proceed and as the bull market develops across the crypto market, well, who knows? There is also $12,000, right? But overall, the main takeaway is that we are locally consolidating in the preparation and in the anticipation of the retest of and the test of the $6,000, perhaps 6,500. It just gives us some potential sort of like a resistance cluster for the anticipated targets. But long story short, I mean, there's nothing bearish about what I'm just looking at the chart right now. So this just confirms and perfectly aligns, after what Simon shared, from the fundamental point of view. And from what I'm looking from the technical point of view at, this just all comes together perfectly, right? And let's actually get back um, to continue within the further questions, if you don't mind. Now that we've introduced sort of like incentives, that may attract new investors, there are still people who are new to the scene, just like you shared. Like, we want to go mainstream, we want to go global, right? Reach out to brand new communities, those from the inside of crypto and outside of crypto. So how would you convince those? Like, why should anybody get YFDAI?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of options, right? And then every day, every week, there's continue to be more options. I think with any early stage company, even more importantly, with any early stage, blockchain project, crypto project in general, really the strength is all in the team first. And so the strength is in the development. It's in obviously on our end in the tokenomics, in making sure that everyone understands what the tokenomics represent, understanding that, although there is, that the YFDI token actually has a token burn mechanism. So we're actually working down to under 14,000 tokens, versus, from 21,000, which obviously help and things like that. From a staking perspective and whatnot, and we have APY, annual percentage yield, of 72% a year, and with our tokenomics, with 70% fixed, that should last for at least 1.5 years based on our projections. So we still have a long way to go on that, and that just started last fall, right, with that projection. And again, these rewards will be replenished with profit shares and also launchpad tokens. So you're building multiple, streams of income, by holding the YFDAI token. And by holding the token, then you're going to be getting access to that launchpad incubator. You'll be able to participate in the pre-sales that we have, that have the strict adherence to security audits and token locks that we talked about. And doing a full audit, beyond the security audit, auditing even, the team, the vision, making sure that tokenomics is sound, really full service around that from an advisory and understanding standpoint. Like, we turn down, at this point, I think it's probably 95 to 98% of projects, right, that have come to us to even be consideration for our launchpad, because we have to be picky. And then if the SafeSwap token is approved, then those holding it will be eligible for airdrops similar to what Uniswap has done, and more that I can't disclose right now. So we just from our contract, we allocated tokens to the contract upon launch of staking, and the longer you hold, the more rewards you're eligible for. And so even if you're just starting and thinking about like, hey, let me start staking now, or am I too late? It's not too late. Just look at. I always tell people, go back to the value locked up in DeFi currently, which I don't know what it's at right now. It's like 35 billion or something. Compare that to the centralized finance industry, which is $24 trillion, right? So centralized finance, $24 trillion locked up in financial services. We are under 50 billion. So what is that, 0.01%? Yeah. There is a huge amount of opportunity here. Of course, different regulations are going to be rolling out, and as countries going to roll out with their own, central bank digital currencies and things like that, there'll be nuances that we will face, just like any industry. But it's never been a better time, I think, in history to really, Robin Hood the finance world, to be like, hey, you can make it too. I think it's. That they have that old saying like, hey, always looking to strive here in the United States or whatever about the American dream, right? I think the American dream now is really the global dream, right? It's like, hey, you have, the dream of freedom, right? A global freedom in terms of being able to unchain yourself from the centralized finance system, be able to create your own wealth, the creator economy in general, right? Those that are creating products or are influencers on Instagram, this and that, they are all driving this community, right? Everyone's going to have a voice. Your data, your information, how you spend your time all matters. And now it's rewarded, by being able to monetize that, through, including through, crypto and participating in DeFi ecosystem. Whether you're holding a lot of, you're holding a lot and you want to lend to somebody and have a much more attractive APY than centralized systems, or if you're staking and you're thinking about your bank, you look at your bank account right now and it's your money there is sitting there, your fiat money earning 0.01% a year, right?
Exactly.
Versus being able to go into projects where you can earn multiples of that and have security that, hey, it's going to be around. And of course, different variables affect your percentage yield. But I think it's a combination of those things that we understand, we recognize. We have the team that will be able to drive the future. And I mean, I see YFDAI as a top 5, top 3 project across the whole DeFi ecosystem. Hopefully by the end of the year. I think we have the strength for it. It's scaling is always a delicate balance, right? Because you need to always be building product, be building up your marketing, but also be building your people and make sure the understanding of the community and newcomers is there at the same time. So it's a balancing act, but I think we have everything that it takes, all the ingredients to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. And I think there are reasons why YFDAI was ranked many times actually as the leader within the DeFi scene, be it for the crypto community sort of like strength and engagement, or the actual sort of like just the market performance. I think the numbers, like, we just let the numbers speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that you actually referred to those bank interests, because I actually saw earlier today this tweet from a guy from, I don't know this guy even, like, on a Twitter, but he just commented over some DeFi services, and he just said that, this perfectly was addressed at Bitcoin actually, but overall DeFi scene as well involved, that he would never trust his money with Bitcoin. He would never put his money into Bitcoin because he chooses to pretty much like just keep it safe in the bank. Right. And my good friend CryptoDog, who's an amazing influencer and amazing professional businessman, he just commented, like, and quoted that with the word oxymoron. Right. This is sort of like something that negates itself. Right. The bank's money are not safe. Banks can also just go illiquid. They can be compromised. They can be hacked. And on top of that, you are earning like negative interest rates. In fact, because if you attach the inflation on top of your actual earnings, right, it all comes out that you're actually losing on that yearly. So it's sort of like we're still early. We're still young for the crypto market, but we have a lot of big supporters. We have a lot of influencers. We have a lot of sort of like big media personas, like for example, Elon Musk, right? Let's take Elon Musk. I mean, he's just putting more eyes into crypto right now. And I think that we have reached, as the market, this sort of like a stage of maturity, not full maturity, but the stage where the really big money can get involved, which is completely different to what we saw in 2017. And speaking of those comparisons, let's try to extrapolate that into the future. Like, what would you say in the kind of like, short message, what would you say is the future of crypto DeFi going to look like?
Yeah, great question. But before that, I was going to say, I think the last point I just wanted to make clear to everyone in the community is that, like, YFDAI token holders receive benefits and income from every single section of our business, safe swap exchange, everything else. So I think that's very important. So there's always something new that's coming. And across our existing services, you're always earning rewards and always earning income on that too as well. But in terms of the future of DeFi and crypto globally, I think it's going to be a lot of more of the same in terms of institutional adoption, right? Elon Musk and Tesla invested $1.5 billion off the balance sheet. I heard word that Twitter's looking to do the same, as well as Uber. Just recently, MasterCard said that they'll start accepting, select crypto payments across their network. I'm sure Visa's right behind them as well. If not, they probably, have. I know they've already been obviously playing in the space as well from a few different perspectives. And I have friends that work at Visa too, so you get a little inside scoop on things going on where possible. So more mainstream adoption is key, especially around businesses and corporations. It's free market enterprises, and will always be leading the way for innovation beyond any government, right? I think that's important to realize this. It's like, it's always open, free economic markets that will be leading the way. The regulators, the governments and things typically are playing catch up, typically trying to figure out, hey, how do we participate? Or if we don't participate, how do we tax it? Or how do we—
They're always late. They're always late.
And they're always late, right? Exactly. But we have to be careful. So I think, part of the future of DeFi and crypto is more understanding for regulation. And typically when governments or those that don't understand something, they're more prone to do harm to an industry or a certain product or service or whatnot than there is to do good. So it's really important that we have the right lobbyists, the right influencers, political influencers, the right politicians in place, like the mayor of Florida, that have a great understanding of the potential benefits, that have understanding of how this could help their local economies and regional, nationwide economies, and that are striving to build crypto hubs around the world. So I really do believe that Miami is a present and future hub for our space, as long as the mayor is in office there and is reelected. There's other areas I feel that are becoming more decentralized in terms of influence, including Silicon Valley, because a lot of the Silicon Valley, really thanks in large part as well to the coronavirus, have been kind of spread throughout the country and throughout the world now, right? Why pay $4,000 for an apartment when everything's closed, when you can live in Florida or Bali or something at a fraction of the cost and have more liberties and freedoms from a personal domain, no matter how you view things from a political domain. So that all plays into this, right? I think it's important to connect the dots and understand who are our allies in the space, what are the potential regulations and potential roadblocks we're going to hit, how can we prevent those, really to get in front of it and show and be transparent, be like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we believe we should be building the space. Here's associations we're a part of that is really bridging the gap between blockchain and DeFi in general and traditional markets, just like Enterprise Ethereum Alliance has done, EEA has done, and others in Switzerland and Zug Switzerland, things like that, and going from there. And it is, this past year, you may have heard this, has been the biggest redistribution of wealth event in human history. So much so that the World Economic Forum, one of the founders there, wrote a white paper called The Great Reset. So we have to keep those elements in mind to think,
Mr. Schwab.
So how is that going to be affecting us? And how is that going to be affecting the future? As hopeful I am for a bright future, I know there's a lot of darkness that we have to get through, and that we have to be mindful of, and we have to be careful because of censorship, because of increased accessibility to us. Sometimes means that other forces are trying to decrease our accessibility to interplay in the global markets, in the crypto space as well. So we have to mindfully navigate that. And I think the good players, the right players like YFDAI and our partners in the space and yourself and everything, we're doing the right thing to make sure that we're showing the light versus showing the darkness of what is possible.
Yeah, I think this is a very strong and powerful message from you, Simon, because I'm actually on the very same page. I can perfectly see what they are doing, what the governments are doing, regarding the fiat system. It's literally like a slow, controlled hyperinflation, and the fiat is going down the toilet, within the next couple of years, probably within the next 10 years, just pretty much like as the Mr. Klaus Schwab, just shared with it, his the Great Reset, right, agenda. So it just tells us and convinces us of how important the decentralized future and YFDAI as the representative is going to be within the next months and years. And I definitely want to appreciate your generosity with your time. I know you're in the big rush for being the leader, for the growth in such an amazing company. And I would love to quote this entire sort of like a podcast with the final takeaway message from you, the final tip that you can leave our listeners and viewers with. What would that be, Simon?
That's great. I was going to make a joke, say, my tip is that there's always a million tips. So you can't follow them all. But no, I think
that's all, folks. Fair enough.
yeah. No. So my really master tip is really kind of DYOR, do your own research, right? When you feel like you're uncertain about a certain project or a certain company or a certain service, research it, understand what are you getting involved in, how it works, and understand it versus just following the masses. So I think spending your own time to really internalize an understanding of DeFi in general, or a certain product or a certain company that you're looking to invest in, is better than you trusting anyone else's opinion on it. And as we know, with with almost any piece of media today, there's always a bias, there's always a side, there's always a reason somebody is writing something in a certain light that's beneficial, either for them or their movement or something else. So I think doing your own research and getting that comfortability to participate in the space is vital. But at the same time, that doesn't mean just doing it alone, right? Trust the community, trust in reaching out, asking questions, and always be curious. So be ambitious and curious, yet with safeguards. And that's a major tip to really be successful in this space and in anything that you do.
I love it. That's a very powerful message. And I couldn't agree more with you, Simon. And I truly appreciate your time. I truly appreciate your time and overall efforts that you're already making within the YFDAI, and that you're contributing yourself to the DeFi scene development and the crypto as we proceed. And to all the viewers and listeners, whatever links are going to be applicable, we are going to make sure to actually attach them right in the description of the podcast. So make sure you pay attention to that, because as you know from Simon, there is a lot of good big events coming up. So you just cannot really afford to miss this out. And ladies and gentlemen, Szymon, as Polish name follows, or Simon Bogdanowicz, the growth leader in the YFDI, has been our guest today. Amazing efforts, Simon. Well done, and truly appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. So always love to talk about everything we discussed, and I'm excited to come back on your show and talk to you and your community again.
Awesome. We'll make sure that happens. Thank you. That's all for today, guys. Stay safe. Cheers.
Ferrum Network is an interoperable DeFi ecosystem offering token pre-sales, staking as a service, project incubation, and much more. Visit thebirbnest.com/Ferrum. DeFi Click democratizes the lending market by offering both collateralized and uncollateralized loans to everyone with cross-chain interoperability through Polkadot. For more information, visit thebirbnest.com/DeFi Click.
I'd like to thank our listeners for joining this episode of The Nest Show. If you've appreciated the depth and breadth of what you've heard with us today, subscribe to our podcast and find our landing page at thebirbnest.com. We have a vibrant Discord community which acts as our central hub of operations, and we welcome you to join us at thebirbnest.com/Discord. We also offer an extensive free bulletin on emerging crypto market trends, exclusive undervalued gem reports, and in-depth expert technical and fundamental analysis at thebirbnest.com/bulletin. We always appreciate engagement from our community, which of course means liking the video and subscribing to our page, where we insist on bringing you the highest quality content available. Also, we're happy to incorporate tips and topics from our listeners and encourage you to email us at thenestshow@thebirbnest.com. This podcast is brought to you by the Birb Nest. Thank you, and trade on.